They hailed her as the strongest priestess in Enugu, but one secret she hid would soon turn her fame into a nightmare. One night inside her shrine, everything changed. Welcome to Tales at Dusk, the archive of rich African tales. Jessica always said life cheated her twice. The first time was the day she was born without the kind of beauty people celebrate. The second time was every day she woke up inside the rough hotel where she was living in Enugu, where she had worked for 6 long, wasted years. At 39, age was no longer creeping toward her, it was running. Her once smooth skin now looked tired, and her eyes carried the weight of too many disappointments. She was not the kind of woman men fought over. She knew it. Everybody knew it. Even the customers who came to the hotel knew it. The small hotel itself wasn't any better. It sat at the end of a dusty street in Abakpa. Torn curtains hung at the entrance. Loud music, cigarette smoke, and the smell of cheap beer floated around the compound. Other sex workers, mostly younger girls, stood outside every evening, applying makeup and calling out to men who passed by. But not Jessica. She sat on a broken plastic chair under the weak yellow bulb by the corridor, hoping one man, just one, would pick her for the night. Some nights, nobody did. Most nights, only a few drunk ones noticed her. As the years passed, she could see how customers now preferred the younger girls, the ones with fresh faces and bold shapes. Jessica had neither. She knew her looks were fading and her chances were disappearing with them. Inside her room, she kept a tiny mirror on the table. Every evening before work, she stared into it. No matter how much powder she packed on her face, she still looked tired, older, unlucky. That was the part that pained her the most. 6 years of living a life she was never proud of. And still, she had nothing. No savings, no house, not even enough to quit. So she created her own escape. Every night after the last customer left, Jessica drank herself to sleep. She smoked until her room smelled like burnt leaves. It was the only time she felt free, those hazy floating moments where she forgot her failures. She told herself she smoked to relax, but the truth was deeper. She smoked to erase reality. Her body had become her burden, her job had become her shame, and time was no longer on her side. Sometimes, when business was extremely bad, Jessica would lie awake staring at the ceiling fan, its blades turning slowly, making a noise like a tired old man coughing. She wondered if this was all life had for her. She wondered if God had forgotten her name. The younger sex workers pitied her sometimes, but they didn't show it openly. Instead, they whispered behind her back, "Jessica Dawn Old. Now only drunk men they follow am now. She try, but her time dawn pass." Jessica heard them. She heard everything, and every insult dug into her heart like a rusted nail. To numb the pain, she started drinking more than usual. And when the drinks no longer helped, she turned to smoking substances, hoping it would quiet the noise in her mind. The first day she did, her vision blurred a little. Her thoughts began to twist and stretch. She felt light, almost like she was slipping out of her own body. Then she heard something. A whisper, a soft voice, like someone calling her from far away. She sat up sharply. "Who dey my room?" she asked, her voice shaky. Silence. Her heart raced. She looked around, but everything was still. The room was empty, but the voice she heard felt real. Too real. For the first time, fear mixed with curiosity inside her. Something strange was happening, something she couldn't explain. The night Jessica first hallucinated properly was a night only one drunk customer picked her, and even he left halfway when his wife kept calling his phone. Jessica returned to her room angry, broke, and tired. She locked the door, threw her wig on the floor, and sat on her bed like someone carrying the entire world on her shoulders. "I don't tire for this life," she muttered. She grabbed her substance pouch and rolled a fat one, the kind she only smoked when she was deeply upset. She sat beside her tiny window, lit it, inhaled long and deep, and let the bitter smoke settle in her lungs. Soon, her eyes grew heavy, her thoughts loosened. Her mind began drifting in and out like a faulty radio. She leaned back and let the smoke carry her away. At first, the hallucination came like soft flashes, images she didn't recognize. A girl in red, a strange man running, a bus traveling at night, someone crying. Jessica rubbed her forehead, trying to clear her vision, but the images grew stronger instead of fading. Then suddenly a sharp whisper cut through her mind. "Tell her not to go out tonight." Jessica sat up immediately. Her heart beat faster. She looked around her room, but it was empty. The door was locked. The window was closed. But the voice felt real. Too real. She stood up and paced around the room, but the whisper repeated itself, louder this time. "Danger is waiting outside. Tell her." Jessica didn't know who her was. She didn't even know why she suddenly felt the urge to warn someone. But the thought refused to leave her head, and that was the beginning. The next morning, while the girls were preparing for the day, Jessica walked into the corridor, still groggy from the previous night's smoking. Chica, one of the younger sex workers, was dressing up, getting ready to meet a customer who had invited her out. Jessica didn't plan to say anything. She didn't even remember wanting to talk to anybody. But as soon as she saw Chica adjusting her heels, the hallucination replayed sharply in her mind, the whisper, the danger, the dark street. Before she could stop herself, Jessica spoke. "Chica, don't go out this night. I see danger around you." Everyone turned and stared at her. Chica frowned. "Danger que?" "Na fine customer way. They come pick me." "I beg, Jessica, leave me." Jessica didn't understand why she said it. She only knew it felt like a message pushed out of her stomach. The girls laughed it off. They assumed Jessica was drunk or high or simply jealous. Nobody took her seriously. But that night, around 11 p.m., Chica stumbled back into the local hotel crying. Her bag had been snatched, her phone was gone, her wig was missing, her dress was torn. She kept shouting, Dem rob me for New Haven. Jessica talk am, Jessica first tell me oh." Suddenly, the same girls who laughed at Jessica earlier now surrounded her, staring at her with fear and confusion. "You told her," one whispered. "How you take no?" another asked. Jessica was shocked too. She did not know anything. She only said what her hallucination told her. But before she could explain, the girls started calling her names. Jessica Nasir. She dey see vision. She get eye. Jessica denied it. "I no be zero. Na smoke dey worry me yesterday night." But nobody listened. To them, it didn't matter whether she smoked or drank or dreamt it. All that mattered was that she had spoken something, and it happened. That was all the girls needed. The next day, the second incident happened. Ngozi, another girl, had been crying for weeks because her visa application kept bouncing. Out of nowhere, Jessica told her, "Your visa go soon come. No worry yourself." Jessica didn't plan to say it. The words just slipped out of her mouth the way smoke slips out of a burning paper. 2 weeks later, Ngozi received her approval letter. She screamed Jessica's name all over the compound. Jessica talk aim. She gets spiritual eyes. Now the entire neighborhood believed something supernatural was going on. Jessica knew it was all hallucination, but the coincidences kept happening. Each time she smoked, she saw strange flashes, images of things that later happened to someone around. Some were small things, some were serious. But after every incident, the girls gathered around her like she was some kind of prophetess. Their faces were filled with curiosity and fear. "Jessica, you get something," one whispered. "This one no be ordinary," another added. Jessica tried to laugh it off. "I no get anything. Na smoke dey worry me. Make Una leave me." But the girls didn't leave her alone. They followed her into her small room, sat on her bed, sat on the floor, and stared at her like she was hiding something powerful. "You're wasting time here," Chica finally said. "You're supposed to be a spiritual woman, a real Ezinwanyi." Jessica's eyes widened. "Me? Ezinwanyi? For where?" Chica pointed at her. "Jessica, no be today where we dey hear say some people dey get calling. Maybe nay your own done show, but shame and fear they hold you." Another girl quickly added, "With all these things where you dey see, this place no fit contain you again." Jessica felt a strange mix of fear and pride rise inside her. All her life she wanted to feel important. Now, for the first time, people were looking at her differently. Not with pity, not with disgust, but with respect. The girls continued talking excitedly. "You fit open shrine. People go come meet you. You go they help people, no be this ashawo work. Your life go better." Jessica sat silently, listening to all of it. And for the first time the idea entered her heart fully. The rough hotel had given her nothing for 6 years. No respect, no progress, no future, no identity. But this new thing, this strange ability that smoking had activated inside her, had suddenly given her attention, recognition, fear, respect. The more she resisted the idea, the more it pulled her in. Maybe this was her escape. Maybe this was the only way she could leave sex work without starving. Maybe the hallucinations were a blessing in disguise. That night, Jessica lay awake on her narrow bed, staring at the ceiling. The fan above her made a humming sound. The moonlight slipped in through the window and fell on her face. She imagined herself sitting in a shrine, people kneeling before her, calling her Ezinwanyi Jessica, begging for help, surrounding her with gifts, treating her like somebody important. Her heart beat faster. For once, the thought of her future didn't look dark. It looked bright, powerful, almost holy. Even though she knew she didn't have any real powers, she also knew something else. People don't need truth. They only need hope. And she could give them that. By the next morning, Jessica had made up her mind. She borrowed 2 Ghana must-go bags from another girl and began packing her few belongings. As she walked out of the local hotel for the final time, the girls called after her. "Ezinwanyi, no forget us when you blow O." "Jessica, go do your work. Your calling don't come." Jessica didn't reply. She only carried her bags and walked away with a strange mixture of fear and excitement bubbling inside her chest. She didn't have any supernatural power, not even a drop. All she had was hallucination and the confidence that people already believed in her. And sometimes that is enough to start a very dangerous journey. Jessica reached a quiet part of Coal City, Enugu, carrying her 2 bags and a plastic bucket. The streets were calmer than the noisy brothel she had left behind. She didn't know anyone here, but that was exactly what she wanted. A fresh start where nobody remembered she was once a sex worker. She rented a small, abandoned kiosk made of rusted zinc. The place smelled of dust and rat droppings, but she cleaned it slowly, washing the floor and wiping the walls with a rag. When she finished, she placed a small wooden stool in the center of the room and covered it with a red cloth she bought from Ogieg Market. It wasn't a real shrine. It wasn't powerful. It wasn't holy. But it looked the part. She bought a clay pot, 2 candles, a small mirror, white chalk, a wrapper, and a few cowries. She arranged them neatly to make the space look spiritual. Then she sat in front of the mirror and practiced how to talk like a priestess, slow, calm, and mysterious. "Sit down," she whispered to the mirror. "No fear. The spirit will speak." She laughed at herself, shaking her head. "What am I even doing?" But she didn't stop, because deep inside her chest, hope was rising. Her first client came by mistake. A woman selling a kara nearby entered the kiosk looking for shade. When she saw Jessica sitting behind the shrine-like table, she paused. "Sorry, I know no say person day here." Jessica froze, unsure what to say. The woman stared harder. "You be spiritual, woman." Jessica's heart raced. The words slipped out before she could stop them. "Yes, sit down." The woman sat slowly, adjusting her wrapper. Her eyes scanned the candles, the pot, and the cowries. "I'd get bad dreams," she began. "Wetting you fit, see for me." Jessica panicked internally. She had no vision. She had no calling. No spirit was talking to her. But she forced herself to breathe, the way she used to calm down after using substance. She closed her eyes and let her mind drift. Just then, she remembered seeing the woman limping slightly as she walked in. So she used that. "You stepped on something," Jessica said slowly. "Something spiritual." The woman gasped loudly. "Ah, not true. Ever since I quarreled with my neighbor, my leg day pained me." Jessica opened her eyes, shocked. It worked. Pure guesswork. But it worked. The woman left the shrine thanking her, promising to return. Within 3 days, 2 more people came, then 5, then 9. Jessica didn't know how word spread so fast. Maybe the Akara seller told someone. Maybe people noticed the shrine and became curious. Maybe Enugu people were simply hungry for spiritual help. Whatever the reason, her name started traveling. Every evening, she smoked a little substance, just enough to make her mind float and give her fake confidence. She didn't hear real spirits. She didn't see real visions. But sometimes she felt a strange pull, a whisper of coincidence that guided her guesses. And somehow some of those guesses worked for people. 2 out of every 10 clients returned with testimonies, and those testimonies became her wings. Soon people began calling her Ezenwanyi Jessica, the woman with sharp eyes, the priestess from Cold City. Jessica stared at her growing shrine one night, candlelight flickering on her face. She wasn't a priestess. She wasn't a seer. She wasn't chosen. But everyone believed she was, and belief was the beginning of her rising fame. Within a few months, the small kiosk Jessica rented no longer looked like an abandoned space. People now gathered outside it every morning, forming a line that stretched down the dusty street. Some came with plastic chairs. Some came holding small items for sacrifice. Others just came with stories and heavy problems. Jessica still didn't understand how everything grew so fast. She had no spiritual power, no calling, no ancient gift. But people believed she did, and their belief carried her like a river she could no longer step out of. Her confidence grew with every testimony. One woman returned with tears in her eyes, saying her husband stopped beating her after Jessica gave her protection water. Jessica knew the water was ordinary tap water mixed with chalk, but as long as the woman believed it worked, it worked. Another man swore that after Jessica asked him to keep 4 cowries under his pillow, he finally got the job he had been chasing for 2 years. Jessica didn't know his job interview was already near success before he even met her. Then there was the young boy who said he passed his WAEC exams after she told him to bathe with salt. Jessica didn't know he had been studying day and night. Luck and coincidence were doing all the work. But Jessica collected the credit. Soon her kiosk became too small. She rented a bigger room, a wooden structure with enough space to burn incense, place a mat, and hang red and white cloth on the walls. People entered barefoot. They knelt before her. They called her Ezenwanyi Akagiofor. Jessica acted the part well. She spoke slowly, moving her hands gently like she was listening to invisible spirits. She pretended to go into short trances so people would fear her more. The louder they gasped, the more confident she became. But every evening, after closing hours, she dropped the spiritual act and returned to her real self, tired, shaky, and dependent on substances for visions. She smoked mostly to calm her mind, but she also smoked to maintain the image people had created. Substances made her hallucinate enough to say something mysterious. Sometimes her hallucinations were sharp, like scenes replaying in front of her. Other times they were vague feelings, a color, a sound, a flash. She learned to turn those hallucinations into messages. Her fame in Enugu grew like wildfire. People whispered her name in kiki rides, in markets, even in beer parlors. That woman they try. She sabi things. She get power. Anything she talk, they happen. Meanwhile, Jessica knew the truth. Only 2 out of every 10 of her clients succeeded. But those 2 spread her fame more than the 8 who got nothing. In fact, the 8 who got nothing kept quiet because they were afraid of being insulted or blamed for having dirty hands. So Jessica rose higher. She bought new clothes, better wigs, perfumes she had never dreamed of owning. She even started saving money, something she could never do in the brothel. Every time she looked at the shrine, she felt both pride and fear. Pride because she had finally become somebody. Fear because she knew it was all fake. But the world didn't care. They were hungry for miracles, and Jessica had become their supplier. Before you know it, the false priestess of Coal City status changed completely the day a young girl recorded her with a phone during a consultation. The girl had come crying about her relationship, and Jessica, under the light influence of smoke, gave her one of her dramatic messages about cleansing with salt and early morning prayers. The girl left satisfied. That night, she posted the video online with the caption, "This woman saved my life. Enugu people, meet Ezenwanyi, Jessica." The video blew up. Before Jessica even woke up the next morning, her name was already spreading on Facebook, TikTok, WhatsApp groups, and Twitter. People were stitching the video, arguing, praising, even attacking. But all the noise pushed her name higher. Jessica didn't understand social media, but her younger clients explained everything. "Auntie Jessica, open TikTok na. Do Facebook Live. People go follow you. You go blow." Jessica hesitated at first. She didn't want to look foolish online, but the pressure and curiosity pushed her. She bought a ring light, a good phone stand, dressed in a red wrapper, tied a white scarf, and went live for the first time. Her voice shook at the beginning. Good evening, my people. My name is Ezenwanyi Jessica. Within minutes, over 300 people joined. Within 30 minutes, they passed 2,000. Comments were flying like bullets. Bless me, mama. See for me. Your power strong. What can I do for money? My husband they cheat. Help me. Jessica couldn't believe her eyes. She sat up straighter and tried to act powerful. She spoke slowly, confidently, letting her voice fall like someone receiving messages from the gods. In truth, she was saying ordinary things: salt bath, early morning prayers, coconut breaking, simple herbs, chalk cleansing, nothing deep, nothing supernatural. But the people loved it. They copied everything she said and began sending testimonies back online. Out of thousands who tried her methods, maybe only 100 succeeded, but those 100 were loud and dramatic. They filled her comment section with long, emotional stories of how Ezenwanyi saved their destiny. People love proof, and Jessica suddenly had plenty. Her online following exploded. From 2,000 followers, she jumped to 40,000 in 1 month. From 40,000, she jumped to 150,000. Brand pages started sharing her videos, calling her the Enugu Oracle. Even YouTube bloggers talked about her. And the money followed. People sent her tokens during live sessions. Some paid for private consultation. Some bought herbs and charms she packaged in small nylon bags. She no longer lived like the broke sex worker from the street. She now wore flowing gowns, gold bangles, perfumes, and lace wigs. Her shrine grew bigger, decorated with white stones, candles, and mats. She hired 2 young girls to help her attend to customers. Every night before sleeping, she smoked a little to activate her fake visions and prepare for the next day's content. Jessica knew she was lying to the world, but the fame was intoxicating. People now treated her like a healer, a mother, and even a medical expert. Some followers even called her doctor. Some called her prophetess. Some said she was the greatest spiritual woman in the East. But behind all the noise and praise, something darker was growing. The number of people who tried her methods was now in thousands, but only a small portion actually got results, sometimes by pure coincidence, sometimes by effort, sometimes by luck. The rest? Their stories remained silent. One woman used Jessica's herbal bath for marriage but ended up separating from her fiancé. She wanted to complain online, but the moment she typed, "It didn't work for me," Jessica's fans stormed her comment section like warriors. "Your hands are not clean. You are evil, that's why it didn't work. Don't insult our mother. You must have done something wrong." The woman deleted her comment and kept quiet. Another man who bought Jessica's money attraction soap lost his job 2 weeks later. He came back angrily to the shrine, but when he saw the crowd kneeling for Jessica, his confidence vanished. He left without saying a word. No one dared challenge her publicly. It wasn't even about fear of Jessica. It was fear of her followers. They defended her like a cult. They believed everything she said was truth. If something didn't work for someone, they blamed the person. Follow instructions. You get spiritual problem bigger than this. Go check your life. You're the problem, not the priestess. Slowly, the people suffering in silence began to fill the shadows around Jessica's fame, unseen, unheard, but growing. Jessica noticed it too. Some clients returned with sad faces, trying to talk gently, trying to explain their disappointment. She always brushed it aside, telling them, "The spirits are not angry with you. Maybe you need a stronger cleansing." This often led them to pay more money, buy more items, and try again. Some returned 2 or 3 times before finally giving up, but they never complained publicly. People feared isolation more than failure, and anyone who spoke against Jessica became an enemy to her massive online family. Jessica acted confident, but she wasn't blind. She knew many things didn't work. She knew people were folding pain inside their hearts just to protect her image. But she kept quiet. The money was good, the fame was sweet, and her confidence had turned into pride. In her mind, she thought, as long as some people get results, I'm covered. But deep inside, fear lived like a shadow. Fear that one day, a mistake too big to hide, a coincidence too dangerous to ignore, or a client too powerful to silence, would come and scatter everything. She continued smiling online. She continued wearing red wrappers and chanting mysterious lines. She continued pretending that spirits whispered to her. But fate had already chosen her breaking point, and it was coming soon. The day everything fell apart started like an ordinary busy evening at the shrine. Jessica had just finished a long live session online. Thousands of people had flooded her comments, begging her to see for them. She was tired. Her voice was cracking. Her head felt heavy. As usual, she smoked to calm her nerves, but that evening she took far more than her body could handle. Her mind didn't just drift. It scattered. Her vision blurred. Her thoughts stretched thin. Voices in her head grew louder, sharper, confused. Still, she positioned herself on her shrine mat like she was ready for work. She didn't know help was about to be needed, and she was the worst person for the job. A loud knock came at the door. Before her assistants could respond, the door swung open and a woman rushed in, crying and trembling. It was Mrs. Ijoma Okabue, the wife of one of the richest men in Enugu. Her wrapper was loose, her hair scattered, her eyes red with panic. In her arms was her only son, a small boy of about 7, shaking uncontrollably. "Auntie Jessica, please help my child. He's reacting strangely. I don't know what to do." Jessica blinked repeatedly, struggling to understand the scene. Her head was spinning. The room seemed to spin with her. The child's body trembled. Foam gathered at his mouth. "Please," the mother cried, "do something." Jessica should have said, "I am not a doctor." "Take him to the hospital. I can't handle this." But her altered mental state clouded her judgment. Her imagination took control. She believed she was seeing visions, when, in reality, she wasn't thinking clearly at all. She staggered to her shrine, picked up white chalk, kola nut, and native oil. "Bring him here," she said weakly. Her assistants exchanged confused looks, but fear of losing their jobs kept them silent. Jessica placed the boy on the mat and began rubbing white chalk on his forehead. The child's breathing grew faint. She put kernel pomade near his mouth. The boy coughed and struggled. She broke the kola nut and tried to push pieces between his teeth. "No, nah, he can't swallow," the mother cried. "Quiet," Jessica shouted, her voice shaking. "The spirits are working." But nothing was working. The boy's body stiffened, his movements slowed, then faded. Silence filled the shrine. The mother screamed and grabbed her son, shaking him desperately. "Wake up! Please, somebody help me!" But the boy was no longer responding. His chest stayed still. Jessica froze. Her heart dropped. Her mind suddenly cleared as reality hit her hard. She hadn't helped the child. Her actions had made the situation worse, far worse. Out of ignorance, out of pride, out of pretending to be what she wasn't. Before she could think, footsteps thundered outside, voices shouted, car doors slammed, the shrine door burst open again, this time filled with anger. Mr. Okabue, the child's father, stormed in with officers behind him. One look at his unresponsive son, and he cried out from a place no parent ever wants to reach. "Take her in! Take her now!" The officers immediately held Jessica. Mrs. Ijoma was also taken for questioning. The assistants fled. The shrine scattered like a broken market stall. Within minutes, the once respected Ezenwanye was escorted out as cameras recorded, and neighbors whispered, "She don do something way no good." "I talk no be everything be spiritual matter. Her power don fail." The moment Jessica hoped would never come had arrived, and it was only the beginning of her downfall. The news spread faster than Harmattan fire. Before midnight, every major social media platform in Nigeria was carrying headlines like, "Ezenwanye Jessica taken in for questioning after incident with child. Popular Enugu priestess exposed as fake. Boy reported unresponsive after visit to local shrine." Bloggers dug up her old videos. Comment sections exploded. The same people who once called her mother, healer, lioness of the East were now attacking her online. "Fake woman. Scammer. She has been deceiving us. God has exposed her. Investigate her followers too." Jessica sat in a cold police cell, shaking. Her wrapper was dusty. Her face was wet from crying. Her hands trembled like paper in the wind. For the first time since she became famous, she felt completely empty. No power, no pride, no show. She kept whispering the same line over and over. "I didn't mean for anything bad to happen. I didn't mean for anything bad to happen." But intentions didn't matter. A child was unresponsive. A wealthy family was broken. And the whole city was angry. During questioning, Jessica broke down quickly. She wasn't strong enough to pretend. Her voice cracked as she admitted, "I don't have any special power. I was never called. Everything I said came from my confused state of mind, from smoking too much. I didn't know what I was doing." The officers recorded her statement. The video leaked online within hours. People were shocked. Some laughed, some cried, some felt betrayed, and some, especially those who had suffered quietly, finally spoke out. Comments poured in. "Her charms never worked for me. She collected my money too. I wasted money buying her products. I was scared to talk before because her fans attacked people." The truth came out like a flood, and with every new comment, Jessica's image collapsed more. Her trial was fast. There was a lot of evidence. Public pressure was high, but surprisingly the court showed mercy. Maybe because she confessed early. Maybe because she looked more confused than dangerous. Maybe because some officials believed she didn't fully understand the medical risk the boy was facing. Instead of a heavy punishment, she received 5 years in prison. 5 long, slow, humbling years. When the judge read the sentence, Jessica fainted. Prison changed her deeply. Gone were the wigs. Gone were the flowing gowns. Gone were the red wrappers and loud chants. She wore a simple brown uniform. She swept floors. She washed plates. She lived among people who didn't care about fame. There was no smoke, no candles, no chalk, no shrine, no followers kneeling, just silence, cold nights, and time. Time to think, time to regret, time to face herself. Jessica joined the prison fellowship because it was the only place her heart felt lighter. When others sang loudly, she cried quietly. Sometimes she cried for the child she couldn't help. Sometimes she cried for the people she misled. Sometimes she cried for the hard life she once lived. Sometimes she cried because she finally saw the truth. She had been running from her pain. She had used smoke, lies, and fame to hide it. But truth always waits, and truth always catches up. 5 years later, on her release day, the prison gate opened and Jessica stepped into sunlight that felt too bright. She was not the same woman. Her voice was softer, her eyes calmer, her spirit wounded, but slowly healing. She held a small Bible under her arm, a gift from the prison pastor who told her, "Your past is dark, but darkness is where some stories begin." Jessica didn't know what the future held. She didn't know if people would forgive her. She didn't know if she could forgive herself. But she knew one thing for sure: she would never pretend again. She would never use smoke to escape life. She would never mislead people again. Sometimes the people we put on a pedestal are only pretending to be strong while fighting their own battles in secret. Blind trust can be dangerous. Always seek truth, seek knowledge, and seek real help, not illusions dressed as miracles. What do you think pushed Jessica the most? Poverty, desperation, or the pressure to become who others expected her to be? Share your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because every dusk, another powerful tale waits to be told.